gonna start off this reading vlog really strong in the fact that I lost the first clip for it. So I started this second comic book reading vlog in like April. It's currently July 8th when I'm filming this, and so just over the course of all that time I lost the first clip. I don't think I was even wrapping up what I was reading that I remember. I think I was just introducing the idea that I was going to read more comic books, so here is that idea. I'm going to read more comic books. I hope you enjoy. I have finally finished the Miles Morales comic book, 950 pages. It took me about a month, and that was taking breaks, and obviously I read other books during that, but it was a long one. It is now, I do believe, the second longest book I've ever read. I loved it. Easily a 5 out of 5 stars, if not more. It was so enjoyable. Miles is such a complex and fun character to read, but also has all these incredible emotional undertones, and they evaluate really deep emotions with him because he goes through so much, and it's just so well done, and I loved the stories. I loved the characters. His story does pick up in another comic book that I am blanking on the name of right now, but I have it saved on my library, and I can't wait to read that. For now, I'm picking up the children's Crusade. It is a story with Scarlet Witch. I think Vision is in it too, I'm not sure, but the twins are in it, and some other X-Men characters. I'm excited to learn more about the twins, especially because I think that's going to come to be important in the MCU in the next few years or whatever, but anyway, yes, I loved the Miles stories. I actually don't think I took very many screenshots while reading this one, and even if I did, at this point it's been a month, and I think some of the ones I did take have been deleted, but I have a couple between my phone and my iPad. There was a storyline with Mysterio. I really liked the plot line they did with Mysterio in this version of the comics. Mysterio is a villain. We saw in Far From Home, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and it was very different than the Mysterio we saw in the comics, and this was with Miles instead of Peter Parker, but I thought it was just such an interesting story and like really had me on the edge of my seat, and I always love a multiverse crossover. It was very Spider-Verse. We saw a grown-up Peter Parker, and it was just so interesting. And I can't wait if they were to adapt that type of story. I don't know if they'd reuse Mysterio. I think they're done with him. But I really want to see some crossover Peter Parkers. And maybe one day see Miles in the MCU. I don't know if that will happen. But I also just am so baffled by the fact that Miles was so young when this comic started. And that's what I took this screenshot because he is 13. It says it's the older Peter Parker talking to Nick Fury and stuff, but the story I think follows him from 13 to 16 or 17 throughout all of the pages and issues, and it's just crazy how much growing up he does, and it's just really crazy that he's such a young superhero and has a lot of really good morals and great instincts for being so young, and I think that's why I love him so much. But this was another interaction between Miles and a Peter Parker, but it was teenage Peter Parker from this universe who had been dead and was brought back to life in a way by Dr. Doom, I think. And it was just really funny because Miles was like, what the is going on? And Peter was like, language. And it was just a nice little, reminded me of Captain America moment. I thought it was funny. But overall, yes, I loved this comic book so much. I loved all the characters that it brought in. I loved the team-ups with the Avengers, with the Ultimates, with Nick Fury, with the other Peter Parkers. I loved the villains that were brought in. Green Goblin in the comic is way scarier than Green Goblin in the Tobey Maguire movie. They did not do him justice in that movie. So this Green Goblin was so much scarier, and I loved those scenes though with him fighting both Peter Parker and Miles. and I just loved everything. I loved MJ, I loved Gwen, I loved Aunt May. I thought the Kate Bishop story was very interesting, and I need to do my research, but I'm wondering if this Kate is at all related to the Kate Bishop or Katie Bishop, I don't know which, is going to be in the Hawkeye show. It doesn't seem like they're at all the same character, but their names are like exactly the same, so it's a little weird. But I don't know if they would do that in the Hawkeye show because her parents were part of Hydra, and I don't think we're bringing Hydra back in the MCU. I think that's been there, done that, but I don't know. But yeah, I loved all of it. It was just so much fun. I love Miles so much. He goes through so much. It hurts to see all the pain he has to go through, but he has very quickly become one of my all-time favorite MCU characters, or at least Marvel comic characters. He's not so much in the MCU other than the Spider-Verse movie, which isn't MCU canon really, but I hope he ends up in the MCU one day. And while I don't necessarily want them to adapt the story from the comics exactly, in that Peter Parker dies, Miles is also becoming the new Spider-Man, and he, you know, takes over that mantle, but I think it would be really interesting to get a character like Miles in the MCU interacting with all the heroes we have setting up for Phase 4. I think it could be really cool. So that's my hope. I don't know if they'll do that anytime soon, but I think it'd be really cool. So 5 out of 5 stars for sure for this one, and I can't wait to read more Miles in the future. Like I said, I have that one on my library app. Can't think of the title, but I will be reading that hopefully pretty soon. For now, I'm going to switch and just take a break from Miles. I did just read 950 pages of him, and I'm going to read the Children's Crusade book, but yeah. Also, I changed my iPad wallpaper to be Spider-Man. This looks more like it's, you know, this is Peter Parker, not Miles, but still thought it was cool. So that is my comic book update. Hopefully Children's Crusade won't take me a whole month like Miles' comic, but I hope you enjoyed my little update, and I will talk to you when I finish Children's Crusade. A quick update for my comic book reading vlog. I'm technically on a bit of a YouTube break right now as I'm studying for my nursing test, but if I don't do this update, I'll forget about it. So I read all of the Children's Crusade, and I loved it. I loved it so much. It's probably my new favorite comic book. I love Scarlet Witch's backstories, but this one was also just absolutely incredible. I love Billy Kaplan. I love Speed. I love the new Hawkeye. It's all amazing. Hulkling, I love him. So it was all just so enjoyable to have. I'm pretty sure, I don't know this as like 100%, but I'm pretty sure that Billy and Hulkling's first is the first printed gay kiss in a Marvel comic, which was just so cool to see, and they are just so cute together. They call each other idiot a lot, which I find hilarious. Love it. Lots of great storyline. Interesting way to sort of deal with the ramifications of House of M. Have I read House of M yet? No, but here we are. And I just really enjoyed the way that it was handled. It was interesting with the Avengers that they have in this one, with the X-Men coming in. Are any of the X-Men nice? I've never really watched many of the X-Men movies. I haven't read any specifically X-Men comics, unless you count some of Scarlet Witch's origins. Why are they all so mean? Like, it was kind of terrible, but especially Wolverine. He was really mean. But I really loved this story, and it was a nice change of pace to read a comic that's only like 250 pages and not 900. So I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed it so much. In fact, the next comic I am reading is it's not a follow-up to Children's Crusade so much as I think it comes before it, but it's a lot of the same characters. It's Empire. It follows some of the Avengers, Iron Man and Captain America. I think that's Black Panther on the front. The Fantastic Four, and apparently the Fantastic Four have 2 kids, so Reed Richards and Jessica Alba's character, I don't know what her name is, the Invisible Lady. They have 2 kids, and they just got into some hijinks that were just absolutely hilarious. So I would like to read more Fantastic Four. I'm not very familiar with the characters other than that movie that Chris Evans was in as the Human Torch in like 2005, so a long ass time ago. But I'm enjoying their characters, and then it's going to later, I think, connect to this bigger cosmic problem, a war between the Kree and the Skrull, which I think is partly where we're heading in the MCU. I do think that they will pull some ideas from this war because it's already something that's canon in the MCU with Captain Marvel and everything, but I definitely think it's going to become even more important when we come into like the multiverse and this huge war. We're going to do the Secret Wars with the timeline switches. We've got the actual show about the Skrull and the Spree coming with Nick Fury. There's lots. So I am very much enjoying this one. I will hopefully get some more reading of it done soon. The first Loki episode came out tonight on Disney Plus, or last night. I just watched it. Adored it. I would love to read some Loki comics. Maybe I can find some on Kindle Unlimited. I love the character of Loki. I always have. Maybe let's not think about my mental stability, him being one of my comfort characters, but I am very excited about this show, and I already have a few theories brewing about what this show could mean for Phase 4 of the MCU, so I think it'll be a lot of fun. But that is my comic book reading update, and I will see you probably when I'm done with my YouTube break. Hello, a time for a comic book update. So I finished Empire a little bit ago, to be honest, and I just haven't updated. I loved it. Like, I thought I loved the Children's Crusade, and I did. And did I love this one more? I don't know. It was so good. I would have killed for an Avengers Fantastic Four team up now that I have seen what magic that could be. Like, it's incredible. I love them so much all together. Iron Man and Reed Richards are just a great team because they're both geniuses. But Iron Man is like this like darker like mess, and Reed Richards is very much kind of got it together, and they're just a hilarious pairing. Let's just dive right into it. This is a team up between the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, like I said, and they are fighting the Kree and the Skrull, basically. I always confuse who's the Kree, who's the Skrull. I find it very confusing. The Kree, I think, is Jude Law in Captain Marvel, and the Skrull are the green ones. I don't know why they're so hard for me to keep separate. I know their names are not similar, but I just can't. It's really hard for me to remember who's who. Anyway, not the point. They are fighting these two teams, kind of, but they're also fighting these plants that are inhabiting this moon and taking over the moon, and then they're going to go and take over Earth. It was a lot of fun. Mantis came into play. Didn't expect that. Her ex-husband and son came into play. That was fun. Cody, that's what they're called. That was the evil plants, because she married a tree in that comic. I read that in my last vlog. Scarlet Witch and Vision got married, and Mantis married a tree. Here, the trees are coming back to haunt us because now they want to take over Earth. Anyway, let's get into my screenshots. So, we had a very classic Captain America, Thor, Iron Man shot. Loved it. I really like that they brought in all of the like main Avengers. I don't think we had Hawkeye and we didn't have Black Widow, but we had Black Panther, we had Cap, we had Thor, we had Iron Man, and then all of the Fantastic Four. And Spider-Man came in later, but he was actually part of the Fantastic Four in this version. I've never seen that before, but I just ran with it. I think obviously it's clear that my favorite part of this story was Billy Kaplan and the Hulkling, or Wiccan. I love them so much. I love them so much. They're absolutely adorable. There was this screenshot, so I think this was the Human Torch, and someone showed up. I don't remember which characters it were that got banished back to Earth. I think Captain Marvel and the Human Torch. I don't remember. But Billy gets home and he's like, sorry, I was out fighting all these plants. Where the hell did they all come from? And they're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I live here. And Billy was like, what are you guys doing here? Did Teddy send you? Teddy is Hulkling. And they're like, well, kind of. He's trying to kill the entire Earth and like everything and like blow up the sun. And he's like, my husband would never. And this actually, in the little bonus epilogue, you have their wedding, which is, I I think the cutest thing we've ever seen. If we are going to pull Billy and Teddy into the MCU, Marvel has to make them like in their relationship, and maybe one day even see their wedding on screen, because I would die. It's so adorable. I love them. Yes, loved it. All the Young Avengers, love them. They are just the cutest. I love their team up and their powers, and it's just lots of fun. Okay, gotta talk faster because my SD card is full. But there was this part with Black Panther in the middle of the war. He says, Shuri, the Kotati have opened the gateway in the soil of the Great Mound, a hole to anywhere. They're opening a big black hole type thing. And he says, we are in the end game now. And I screamed when I read this. I don't know exactly, I think this came out after Endgame, so I don't think it was anything like where they took this into the movie as like an inspiration, because all these comics I believe came out in like 2019, 2020, and if my memory serves me right, Endgame was much before that, at least filming and everything. But I almost am wondering like if they just did this as like a nod to the movie, or even specifically a nod to Chadwick Boseman. I don't know when this comic was written exactly, whether it was before or after his passing, but to have Black Panther say that line in the middle of this war as he's defending not only Wakanda but Earth, literally chills. I can't even explain. There was this other really cool shot of Teddy and Billy. I just think that they are iconic. Yeah, it was Human Torch and Captain Marvel because they're behind them. And I just love them. They are the power couple we have always needed in the MCU. I just took a screenshot of this alt cover of Thor because I liked the rainbow behind him. I sent it to my sister and just was like, I didn't know Thor was a gay icon. He's not, but it's probably the Bifrost behind him. I just thought it looked cool. Here was a really classic moment. I believe it was Captain Marvel and Billy Kaplan. I don't remember who was in this scene, to be honest. But they are trying to stop the sun from blowing up, and I just really liked that it was Captain Marvel that said, and we're never alone, and they said, yeah, we can do this, damn right we can, Avengers assemble. Anytime the Avengers assemble line is dropped, I'm living. And I liked this line too, be your own future, make this moment your battle, fight for each other, fight as one, for unity, for family. It was just everything I love about the Marvel Universe is because it's this found family trope, I love it. And then another Avengers Assemble, it was so cute. Iron Man, Reed Richards in an Iron Man suit said it. And then when they get to, win and defeat everyone, Billy and Billy and Teddy just have this great screenshot. Teddy is king of the universe, basically, king of space, because he's half Kree, half Skrull. He's a really great uniter, and I just really, really loved this image. And please, please, MCU, put him in the movies. I can't explain how much I want it. And then there was their wedding, their official wedding that they had in space. So does that make Wiccan like king consort of space? I think it does. And I just thought it was adorable. It was with all the Avengers and all their fun friends, and there were so many cameos there. It was really fun. I loved this story. There were so many great components. I think the last comic I will be reading for this vlog is a compilation of Loki comics. It's going to be, I think, mostly focused on Kid Loki, but I'm not 100% sure where we are in time and space right now. I just watched episode 5 of Loki. When you watch this, all of the episodes will be out, and I probably will have died. Loki, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. And I have always loved Loki. Like, because the first movie I saw was The Avengers, and I loved him in that one, and then I caught up and watched everything else, and then, Thor Ragnarok, are you kidding? I love Loki so much, so I am absolutely living with this show, and I can't wait to see where it goes, and I can't wait to go back and read some of the comics and see some of that source material and compare and contrast. So, when I finish Loki, I will let you know. I will wrap up this reading vlog, and yeah, I'm wondering if people, my viewers, what do I have, 2 viewers, if I'm gonna keep doing these separate comic book reading vlogs, or if I'm just gonna throw my comic books into my regular reading vlogs. I don't know. Do you guys care if it's together or separated? I don't know if I care, to be honest, either way, but let me know if you are watching this. Let me know what you think. Either way, I am going to go do some more editing because that's what I've been doing all day. So I will talk to you guys when I finish Loki. Hello, a comic book reading update. I am finally getting the chance to close out vlog number 2 of my comic book reading vlogs. Once again, let me know what you think, if I should combine these with my other reading vlogs or keep them as a separate thing. I'll probably put a poll on my Instagram story as well, just to see what you guys think makes the most sense. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me either way, so just let me know. But I finished the Loki comic book that I was reading, the Agent Loki one, and I had a lot of fun. There were a lot of like darker emotional tones, which I think comes along with the territory of Loki. I really enjoyed it. It just was very dark at times, but I think that is why so many people love Loki, because he doesn't know who he is most of the time. He is still finding himself, and he still feels so trapped by the label of the god of mischief, the god of lies, like, and he doesn't really know how to find his place in the world, in the 10 realms, 9 realms, whatever it is. And I really like that about him, and I think that made for such an interesting story. And I do feel like the particular bind-up that I picked up did kind of jump into the middle of this story. I would need to read, I think, the Kid Loki story to get the full picture. I got little bits and pieces and was like sort of summarized what happened, which was dark. Kid Loki, I am aware of him as a character, and like he was in the Loki show briefly. I didn't realize what Kid Loki had to go through for this Loki to exist. It was, oh god, it's scary, but there was that. And then I really think all of the sort of emotional journeys that Loki goes through in these couple stories, I would like to think that they pulled a lot of that for the Loki television show. I know they pulled some of the Enchantress for Sylvie in the Loki show, so I can definitely see that. I really liked it. I'm going to go through my screenshots now. So this was the very first, one of the very first pages, and I'm just going to read it dramatically. But I just felt like this was so perfect a summary of Loki, and the version, it's almost quite a good summary of the version we see in the MCU. So this is the story of Loki. Adopted on the battlefield by Odin, king of Asgard, Loki was the foster brother of Thor. They didn't always get along. Admittedly, that was because Loki became involved in increasingly wicked schemes over the long centuries, until eventually he was known as the god of evil. And he was trapped by that definition, spiraling deeper into infamy with each new misdeed, unable to escape his role, unable to escape himself, doomed to never be anything but Loki, Loki the bad son, Loki the villain, until the day he died. So he died, which was, of course, his greatest scheme of all. For soon he was reborn into a new youthful body, free to choose his own fate, with the sword of Asgard's earliest hero in his hand, and missions from the Allmother ruling triumvirate, I have no idea what that says, of Asgardia to help polish his sparkling new reputation. So obviously after all that, he wouldn't just stab his brother in the back, surely. That font was not easy for my eyes to read, but I think this is the journey we're currently seeing him on in the MCU. I definitely see this all happening. This was just a screenshot that I did. You can't even really see the picture. It's Loki's hand, but in his sword, but I liked the quote. It says, "You're right, in this I cannot lie. If I am loved, it is only because I am not known." That just hurt, and I think that's why Loki appeals to so many people, because he's vulnerable in a way you don't see hardly any of the other heroes or characters be. Captain America knows who he is. He's always known who he is. He always will know who he is. He's Captain America. He's Steve Rogers. He'll fumble,
but he always has that like core morality to him that Loki doesn't have. And he really has to put a lot more emotional work into it to grow as a person. So I really liked that. It does hurt that he has no friends. Like, for a lot of time and space, he's so alone. And in the MCU and in this comic, we get to see little bits of connection. Thor is always there when they're not trying to kill each other. In the comics, we get to see Verity, who, man, I would love for them to put her in the MCU. She is quite fun. I think she is the best friend Loki could have. And then in the MCU, we've seen now Sylvie develop as someone who could actually be there for Loki, and Mobius as well. So this is one of the comics where we actually get to see that sort of gender bent idea of Loki. Sometimes they will present as male, sometimes as female, just kind of depending on where they are in the story. I think I just like this outfit is basically why I screenshotted this, so sounds about right. And with this quote, when Loki is presenting as female in this scene, Odin, for once in his life, is not a terrible person and acknowledges that. He says, "My children, my son and my daughter, and my child who is both." My daughter is a different character that was introduced in this comic. She is an angel. It's not Hela like in the MCU. In the comics, Hela, I believe, is a daughter of Loki, not this Loki, but the old Loki. Next, let's see what else I have in here. This is Loki and Verity, who I just love so much, and their friendship, I think, is so amazing, and these quotes is, I think, where we see Loki right now as of the end of season 1 of Loki in the MCU. He says, "Verity, I'm sorry, I'm not used to having friends, and I don't know how to be a good one, but I'm trying and I want to change. I want to be better than I am." And I think that's exactly where Loki is right now. How long that'll last, we'll see, but I'm really liking it. Here's Loki in full Thor costume with the hammer. This Axis storyline where everyone is inverted, so villains were inverted into heroes, and heroes were inverted into villains. I didn't get to see the whole thing in this bind-up. It doesn't include all of the Axis stories. The Axis stories, I have one on paper, I think one of the Loki ones. It's like a whole thing. Like, there's a bunch of them. I should see if there's a bind-up of all of them. But Loki went completely good. Like, so good it was bad because of the way he was treating everyone else. He thought himself so much higher. It was really weird to read. Enchantress was the same way. She went all the way good. So good that she turned in her own sister because her sister did something kind of bad. I think she robbed a bank. Woohoo. But I just really liked seeing Loki in the Thor costume. It was a very interesting plotline, and I would like to try and catch up and get some of those middle pieces. I didn't ever see how this was resolved. I know Doctor Doom and Scarlet Witch, I believe, teamed up and fixed it somehow. I didn't see that part of the story in this bind-up of the comics. This is Loki after one of the times he's died and came back, not really sure, but I liked the quote as well. This is something I wish they would pull, like, a quote like this, one of these really dramatic, like, introspective quotes that Loki has into the show, because I think it would actually fit quite well. He said, "I am the echo of a scream. I am the magpie who whispers. I am the crime that will not be forgiven, and this is my story." The line, "I am the crime that will not be forgiven," is going to haunt me for a long time, and I haven't even read the Kid Loki story. That comes from the Kid Loki story because, if you didn't know, this version of Loki, this version, has to kill Kid Loki. So Kid Loki is reborn and is going to be good. He's part of the Young Avengers. It's great. I don't know if he's part of the Young Avengers, but he's a good character at his core, and this Loki comes into existence and has to kill Kid Loki to exist in this body. And he feels a substantial amount of guilt for that, and that is woven throughout the entire plot of every single one of the stories, and it is just so painful. Next, another fun quote that I, again, just felt like tied into the Loki TV show and also just Loki as a character. He says, "And we can rewrite our stories, all of us. Write our own happy endings, our own redefinitions. We don't have to be what we're told to be even by ourselves." And I think that that really just comes down to who Loki is. He's always been told he's a frost giant, he's adopted, he's the god of mischief, the god of lies, the god of evil. He's not worthy like his brother is for the hammer. And this story, this version of Loki, is him finally figuring out that he can define himself. He doesn't have to be everything that they've told him that he is. And I think that's where we're seeing Loki in the MCU right now. And I think, again, I think that's just why everyone loves Loki. That's why I love Loki. This is another quote. This is like the fourth version of Loki we've seen in this comic book. But this was another reborn one in a younger body. At least not the old guy Loki, King Loki, but he had the horn broken off like Sylvie does, and I just thought that was really interesting. He gets it broken off when he gets kicked out of Asgard, which was a painful scene to read. Anyway, I liked what he said. He said, I mean, a story so big and mad and brilliant that it goes back in time and changes other stories. Who ever heard of that? The Avengers and the Loki TV show. That's who's heard of that. This is a weird one, but it made me emotional. So this is current Loki as of the end of this comic book, is the one in the green coat. And the other one is the Loki we saw for most of this comic book, but really it was King Loki, who's the old guy version of Loki, having a complete breakdown because he's like, I tried and I tried and I tried and nothing ever would fix what I was trying to fix. Like, yeah, I was being evil, but I was just trying to prove my point. And he was just crying and just completely broken down. And current Loki was just like, it's alright, you know, I know you tried. I tried the same. Sometimes the universe just won't listen to us. And he kissed him on the forehead and left him in this void area and was just like, you can rest now. And it killed me. So that was the end. I'm not sure which comic book I will read next. My camera's crooked. But I am looking forward to reading some more. This is what I have been really, really enjoying lately. Maybe I'll read some not on my iPad. Can you believe that? Maybe I'll read like one of the bunch of paper ones I have. But I will see you guys next time for my next comic book reading vlog, if this is how I keep them, which is what I'm leaning towards. But thank you for watching. If you stuck through this whole thing, thank you. I'm pretty sure I started this reading vlog in, like, I literally think I started it in April, maybe May, and it is the end of July. So, whoops. But I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys next time with some more superhero content. Bye.